A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Network18 Reforms Reloaded 2025. Ab Bharat ki bari. Now, to set the tone for today's discussion and officially open the summit, we have with us someone who needs no introduction, a sharp journalist, a trusted voice on India's economy, and the managing editor of CNBC TV 18. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Shirin Bhan to deliver the welcome note.
Reforms Reloaded 2025 is about asking whether policy ambition can translate into lived economic impact. Will GST 2.0 ease the cost of doing business and fuel consumption? That's the number one question on everyone's mind. Will disinvestment and asset monetization finally shift gears after years of debate? Can India match its reform narrative with resilience on the ground and credibility abroad? That is the purpose of Reforms Reloaded 2025. Over the course of today, we will be joined by policymakers, key decision makers, industry leaders, investors, and global voices who are not only shaping these reforms but are also holding them accountable to their promise. And before we begin, once again, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge those who've made this event possible today. We couldn't have done this without our presenting partner, IDFC First Bank. Thank you very much. Our associate partners, ITC, PhonePe, Reliance Industries, and our exchange partner, the National Stock Exchange. Thank you to each one of you.
It's, of course, time to focus on what really matters, reforms that touch people's lives, lower bills for households, smoother compliance for businesses, and confidence for industry to invest. To unpack this, I'd like to invite some of India's leading voices. Please welcome Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, MD and CEO, IDFC First Bank, Mr. Santosh Iyer, MD and CEO, Mercedes-Benz India, and Mr. Mohit Malhotra, CEO, Dabur India Limited. Let's welcome them with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
My very first question to you, Santosh, how much cheaper have the cars gotten? Because for the auto sector, the cut has been significant. I mean, for the the smaller cars, the cut is from 28% to 18%. For cars like yours, you're 40%, but no cess.
Average cuts are close to between 5 to 8%. So average for us in luxury segment will be around 6%, which is translated to the customer. So yeah, that's substantial when you look at in rupee terms, somewhere around 1.5 lakhs to 10 to 20 lakhs.
1.5 lakhs to 10 to 20 lakhs. But does the rupee move impact you, or is it likely to impact you?
No, surely. Actually, if you take away that euphoria of the 6-8%, this is the same pricing we used to operate in 2024. And subsequently, we have been taking up price increases quarter on quarter or even once and 3 times in a year because the Forex has moved from 89 to 104. We are still priced at 94 to 95. So we still have a 10% headroom to price even more. So that's, I think, the negative part of the story. But right now, with what the industry was going through, you see the CAGR, it was all flattening out. This measure couldn't have come at a more appropriate time. So I think the entire industry, including us, we decided we will postpone the increases further, but right now pass on the GST benefit to the customer and revive demand significantly.
Let me get Mr. Vaidyanathan into the conversation as well. At the bank, how are you seeing all of this play itself out? What's the target that you're working with? What's your expectation?
ICRA estimates, SBI research estimates, IDFC research estimates, all are pointing out to a consumption lift-off of close to about 2 lakh crores. Banking system credit on that could be something like, again, by research, is about 1.7 to 1.8 lakh crores. And that could mean about a 10% increase in a growth rate sense, which means that last year, if whatever the growth rate for the country would be, it would be plus 1% is our real estimate. That's very significant, considering that the banking system overall credit is about 180 lakh crores. So that's quite significant. Secondly, where is the growth going to come from? There are 2 kinds of cuts have happened here. One is the essential items, like food, paneer, milk, etc., which has all come from 5% to 0%. But the significant one is going to come from the consumption cuts, the one that has come from 28% to 18%. Now, car prices are down like 10%, or will be down 10%. 10% for 10 lakh rupee car is 1 lakh rupees, big money. So if you think of a 10 lakh rupee car, which will now cost 9, assuming a loan amount of say 7 lakh rupees, and EMI earlier would have been say 16,500 rupees. Now EMI will be 14,500. So 2,000 rupees per person per month for 60 months is the reduction in people's EMI. On top of this, interest rate also came down.
Yeah.
So interest around, product cost good down. So both things are actually very significant. And I think this is a material moment. And when we said the other factors that government also reduced the income tax rates, so all three things, interest rate, that one, this one put together, I really believe that 27 will be a lift-off year.
Mohit, let me come to you. For the entire FMCG basket as well, the cut has come at a time when the government is trying to boost consumption. But, most items come down to the 5% bracket as far as FMCG is concerned. What do you now expect in terms of demand pickup?
No, I think this is going to definitely improve the demand and the consumption. I think FMCG, the kind of cuts that you see, for example, there's a 1 rupee price point, which hails in India, which contributes to around 20-30% of the consumption, bringing it down to 93 paise. In absolute terms, doesn't mean much. If you translate into number of crores for a Indian market, it's 2 lakh crore.
Yeah.
That is the kind of substantial impact it will have, which is what PM Modi also mentioned. So I think the sentiment is going to improve. Because of the sentiment, the demand is going to improve. Because of demand, investments are going to improve. Because of investments, I think the employment is going to improve. And Indian economy is really going to benefit. That's what I feel.
Rajiv Mamani, welcome to Reforms Reloaded. Thank you very much for joining us here. So what's the view coming in from CII, Rajiv, at this point in time in terms of confidence, in terms of demand, in terms of investments on the back of the measures taken by the government?
CII has been requesting the government on this for the last year or so, year and a half. I know government has also been working on this, but what they have come out with is far more comprehensive than what anyone expected. The clarity with which it has come, and also it's not just rate reduction, but it's also a structural reform. So, 2 rates simplifies things a lot. Otherwise, there was a multiplicity of rates. Ensuring that, they are now setting up the appellate tribunals. They are now committed to set up a national appellate authority. So I think if I look at the overall package, and without actually putting in any legal requirement to say on anti-profiteering, I think nudging the industry, and to industry's credit, I think industry after industry have come out and voluntarily saying that we'll be passing on the benefit, which is, I think, makes sense from an industry perspective also, is great. CI is very hopeful that with the kind of, at least the feedback that we are getting from our members, is that the various soft signals that you get, number of people visiting websites, number of people going to dealer stores, I mean, he'll have a much better idea of that. The soft signals that we are getting is that it's lined up for a very positive. So I think overall, I would say it's very positive.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're completely out of time, but thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. We truly appreciate your time and look forward to hearing more from you.
Please welcome Mr. Arunish Chawla, who's the Secretary of Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
How does your department, how does the government intend to leverage what we see happening in the market? What can we expect?
The first dose of financial inclusion was Jan Dhan, was Aadhaar, was UPI, what is globally called the India Stack. The second big structural change that has come about in our economy is this great democratization of our capital markets. And as you know, the foreign institutional investors keep moving in and out. They have their own sentiments. To great comfort and great relief, the domestic institutional investors have become part of our capital markets in a very organic way. If the FIIs were maybe slightly negative in the net sense, the domestic institutional investors poured in 6 lakh crores of savings and into the capital markets. So we have moved away from that era where everyone just kept money in fixed deposits and provident funds. Almost 2/3 of our domestic institutional investments, the mutual funds and the more high net worth individuals, what they poured in as 6 lakh crores is almost twice as the 3-year moving average, which is again twice of the previous 3-year moving average. And this year, they say from January till August, again, as the FIIs in a net withdrew 1 lakh crores, the domestic institutional investors poured in 5 lakh crores. And that is why our capital markets are the best performing world over. We have overcome the headwinds, and you can see they're now stable and looking forward to what today you call reforms reloaded.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
जोरदार तालियों से अभिनंदन करिए गजेंद्र सिंह शेखावत का। सेंट्रल मिनिस्टर हैं और साथ ही साथ बीजेपी के कद्दावर नेता भी हैं। प्रधानमंत्री ने देश के नाम एक संबोधन दिया और उस संबोधन में प्रधानमंत्री ने जो जीएसटी 2.0 है उसको एक उत्सव के रूप में बनाने का अनुरोध किया समूचे देश से। हाउ बिग इज दिस?
जीएसटी रिफॉर्म्स केवल मात्र एक करों में राहत जितना विषय नहीं है। पिछले 10 साल में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जिस तरह से देश की अर्थव्यवस्था जो यूपीए के समय बेपटरी हुई थी, पॉलिसी पैरालिसिस के चलते हुए जिस तरह से भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था को फ्रेजाइल 5 इकोनॉमीज में खड़ा किया गया था, वहाँ से लाकर के आज भारत कड़े और बड़े फैसलों के आधार पर, लोकहित और देश हित में लिए गए निर्णयों के आधार पर आज जिस मुकाम पर आकर के खड़ा हुआ है, जब देश चौथी बड़ी अर्थव्यवस्था बना है, देश का टैक्स कलेक्शन 60,000 से 70,000 करोड़ रुपए पर मंथ के बीच में जब जीएसटी लागू हुआ था तब था, वहाँ से लेकर के आज 2 लाख करोड़ रुपए प्रतिमाह हो गया है। ये देश के लिए उन सारे फैसलों और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के नेतृत्व में देश की प्रगति की परिणति है। और जब प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा लाल किले के प्राचीर से देश 2 बार दिवाली मनाएगा, देश दिवाली से पहले दिवाली के मोड में आ चुका है।
जी, लेकिन प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने कल एक टर्म को यूज़ किया, न्यू मिडिल क्लास। उसमें सरकार का संदर्भ क्या है?
देखिए, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के इस राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में पदार्पण से पहले 2014 से पहले गरीबी हटाओ इसको एक नारे की तरह या राजनीतिक हथियार के रूप में उपयोग किया गया था, लेकिन देश में गरीबों की संख्या सुरसा के मुंह की तरह बढ़ती जा रही थी। पहली बार किसी ने व्यावहारिक तौर पर काम करते हुए देश में गरीबी और गरीबी से जुड़े हुए विषयों को एड्रेस करने पर काम किया। योजनाओं का ही केवल निर्माण की नहीं किया, अपितु योजनाओं को 100% सैचुरेशन के दृष्टिकोण से धरातल पर उतारा।
जी,
मूलभूत आवश्यकताओं की, मूलभूत विषयों की चुनौती से जूझते हुए समाज को उनसे बाहर निकाल करके देश के लिए एक असेट साइड में ला करके खड़ा किया। और उसका परिणाम था, नीति आयोग के आंकड़े उठा करके देख लें, वर्ल्ड बैंक के आंकड़े उठा करके देख लें, देश की दुनिया के दूसरे इकोनॉमी का एनालिसिस करने वाले ऐसे सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस और इंस्टीट्यूट्स के आंकड़ों को उठा करके देख लें, मीडिया के वर्टिकल्स पे उठा करके देख लें। कुछ आंकड़ों में अंतर हो सकता है, कहीं 20 करोड़ होगा, कहीं 22 करोड़ होगा, कहीं 25 करोड़ होगा, कोई 30 करोड़ की बात कर रहा होगा, लेकिन इतना बड़ा तबका ऐसा है जो गरीबी की रेखा से बाहर निकल करके अब मध्यम वर्ग का जीवन जीने का सौभाग्य प्राप्त कर चुका है। वो न्यू मिडिल क्लास है।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए।
A very warm welcome to Reforms Reloaded. Is there a thought process in the government on how do we ensure that the rate cuts are passed on? Because, that is the question that I think everyone in the audience has here at the moment.
Look, I think business needs to understand that they are as much citizens as anyone else. So as a country, we do expect good behavior. Now, some of this has to come from social pressure. As I said, giving additional powers to the bureaucracy has its own connotations. Therefore, that is not something that I'm very keen on pushing for. So this is something that hopefully will, over time, I'm not saying it may need to happen immediately, but over the next few months, it would be important to see this pass through. And maybe it will. I mean, that's why you need competitive markets. Some people will pass it through, their prices will fall, and presumably they will, therefore, their market share will go up and so on. So to some extent, the market may force it through anyway.
Any message that you'd like to give out to the businesses and to the consumers sitting here?
The original introduction of GST was like a free trade agreement that India signed with itself. The second round that we have now done is to radically simplify it and lower the tax rates, to benefit the consumers, and second, to make the system radically more efficient. The idea is that, one, of course, our consumers are able to consume goods, particularly India-produced goods, and also that our producers are able to now take advantage of a much simpler system to basically make in India.
So buy Swadeshi and make in India. And you are embodying all of that. All right, thank you so much. A big round of applause for Sanjeev Sanyal.
It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome here the Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Anantha Nageshwaran. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here. Let's start with GST as well as the impact that the government hopes this GST cut will provide as an impetus to the economy. What's your own expectation? Do you believe that you now feel confident enough to review upwards your growth projections for the economy, or do you believe that the band that you had articulated in the economic survey still holds?
No, I think the GST 2.0 is a very significant landmark reform. I am very confident that under the circumstances, it will provide a very significant boost to domestic demand, because if you look at the total amount of taxes that is estimated to be foregone is exactly the amount of savings that the households are making, coming on top of the direct tax relief concessions made in the budget. And then if you sort of take in the multiplier effect, it will definitely add quite a bit to the GDP numbers.
Prime Minister gave a number of 2.5 lakh crore rupees when he addressed the nation yesterday. What's the estimate that you're working with? Because I'm sure that will go into the budget math as well.
GST 2.0, it's a combination of three components. One is the reductions in rates from, many categories going from 18 to 5 and the 12 becoming 5, etc. That is one major chunk. The second chunk is the withdrawal of the compensation cess. These two are very positive to the households. The small minus is the one where few categories where the rate goes from 28 to 40. So the final tax savings is the first two components minus the third component, and that number will be upwards of 1 lakh crore. And then if you really assume a marginal propensity to consume, as they call it, MPC in the economist jargon, which basically means depending on how much households consume, then it leads to further income growth. And so 2-3 rounds of multiplier effect, then the total impact on the economy will be even more than 2.5 lakh crores.
Many, many thanks for joining us here on Reforms Reloaded. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.
Secretary R.K. Singh is someone who needs no introduction. He's someone who has been holding almost 20 to 30 meetings with the industry almost on a daily basis. He was at the DPIIT, helming the DPIIT a few months back, and he's done a lot of work with FDI, with startups, with investments in the country. 15-year defense technology and innovation roadmap that the Defense Ministry recently came up with. Could you give us a sense of what's going to be the value of the kind of acquisitions that we're looking at over the next 10 to 20 years?
The roadmap has been sort of put out by the services in the public domain. It's available now. It focuses on technologies that are of the future, whether it is AI, whether it is hypersonics, whether it is other types of standoff weapons, it is space, various types of precision ammunition, all of those technologies that they feel would be required in the future, nuclear-powered ships, etc., etc. So yeah, it's a fairly comprehensive roadmap of where they think the world is going and where we need to leverage products and platforms from those kind of cutting-edge technologies.
The Defense Acquisition Procedure 2020, this has been under review. This was said to be the big reform of 2025. By when can we expect that? And what do you think will be the thrust of reform in the DAP rules?
In the revenue procurement manual, you're talking about an annual budget of about 1 lakh crore. The capital procedure, which is the defense acquisition procedure, is much bigger. It's almost double that size. It's about 1,80,000 crore. I'm sure hit 2 lakh crores in the next couple of years. That reform process is now underway. Consultations, including with industry, is ongoing. And the target we have set ourselves is that by the end of the year, that is by December, in the year of reforms and in line with the other reforms that government is doing in terms of ease of doing business, in terms of decriminalization, in terms of other steps to reduce the compliance burden, we will, in the same light, we will make this document for CapEx much more simple, much more friendly to the private sector and to the startups, and sort of compress some of the process timelines to make it, to use technology to cut down delays in areas like field evaluation trials, cost negotiations, those kind of things. So the intent is you'll have the new DAP 20 hopefully by the new year of next year.
Thank you very much for joining us, taking out time to give a sense of the next 15-year roadmap of the Indian government.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prahlad Joshi ji. Thank you very much. And namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Prahlad ji, this is a white swan day, as many people say, 22nd of September 2025 with GST 2.0. Why is it that this day is very important, especially from the consumer's point of view and from a nation point of view?
This is the biggest ever reform after 77 years of independence, according to me. With full confidence at my command, I am telling you, this is the biggest reform. Whatever the consumers day-to-day they are using, that is either 0% or 5%. So if I can quote, I come from the South India, if I can quote an example, if I go to, whenever I visit Bangalore, I go to one hotel there, where dosa is done very well. तो वो डोसा के लिए हमको 20% टैक्स देना पड़ता था. अच्छे साउथ इंडियन कॉफ़ी पीते हैं तो 20% GST था, 20% टैक्स था, all put together before to GST and before to this reform. Today it is 0%. And many of them, they are under 5%. So toothpaste and shampoo, soap, all those, they are in 5% range. जब जनता को इतने बड़ी मात्रा में सेविंग्स होता है, जन परचेजिंग पावर, उनका जो कैपेसिटी है वो कैपेसिटी बढ़ता है. जब मार्केट में बिजनेस ज़्यादा होता है, जब बिजनेस ज़्यादा होता है, नेचुरली रेवेन्यू भी ज़्यादा होता है, लेकिन उसके लिए थोड़ा पेशेंस रखना है और पहले जनता को सुविधा देना चाहिए. ये तो मन से काम करना है. दैट इज़ व्हाट प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी हैज़ डन इट.
But Mantri ji, why do you call it the biggest reform? You said, I put my word here, this is the biggest ever reform that Bharat has witnessed. Why do you say that?
Now, why I have said is probably everybody is so far, because now it has been announced 15 days back, everybody is aware. See, what used to happen, so many taxes, so many compliances. Abhi compliances bhi itna simple ho gaya, refund itna simple ho gaya, और slab, only 2 slab. तो ये सब देखते हुए लोगों को एक तो बिजनेस कम्युनिटी को भी लग रहा है कि ये कंप्लायंसेस भी इजी है, रिफंड भी अगर कुछ है तो रिफंड भी तुरंत आता है, रिफंड के लिए भी इसमें प्रोविजन है, और टैक्स स्लैब भी कम हो गया है. पहले तो जब आई कैन रिकलेक्ट, आई हैव इंडस्ट्री, इवन टुडे आई एम वन ऑफ द डायरेक्टर इन दैट, आई एम ए शेयर होल्डर. छोटा कंपनी है, ठीक है, लेकिन मैं हूँ. When I started the company, you cannot believe, because I come from a very humble background, वो एक एक्साइज इंस्पेक्टर करके इतना हमको तंग किया था, तो हमको पहले शुरुआत में ऐसे लगा क्यों हमने ये फैक्ट्री शुरू कर रहे हैं, ऐसे लग गया था. लेकिन आज तो सिस्टम इतना सिंपल हो गया है, और एक ही GST में 1-2 ही स्लैब में पूरा आपका समस्या हल हो जाएगा, और आपका जो इनपुट क्रेडिट है वो सब तुरंत रिफंड आ जाएगा. और इसके साथ ही साथ आपका जो डेली कंज्यूमेबल आइटम्स है, दैट हैव बिकम आइदर 0% और 5%. इससे राहत क्या चाहिए?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure and a privilege to welcome Amitabh Kant here on the Reforms Reloaded platform. Well, this reform was critical, and this reform has been done, and the hope is that it will boost consumption, boost demand, and then boost investment. What's the sense that you get on that front?
So, the government has done a lot. I would say this, because to bring in the GST simplification at this particular stage to bring in all the states on board is a remarkable thing, and all credit to the PM and the FM for that. But I think we should accelerate the pace of many other reforms simply because the global challenges in terms of the breakdown of global supply chains, the rise in protectionism, the breakdown of institutions with a war on both in Europe and Middle East. There are many challenges, and now with this H-1B visa. So we need to use this crisis as an opportunity to push many other reforms, to my mind.
And you talked about the H-1B visa issue, which blew up over the weekend. What do you believe we need to do in order for us to actually ensure that this emerges as a silver lining, Mr. Kant?
It's not that the Indian companies utilize H-1B visa.
No, not the bulk of them.
It's the American, the United States companies which bring in all this, utilize the H-1B visa for their advantage. So if they had put that $100,000 per year, then it would have had huge implications. But now that they've clearly announced, backtracked, and said that it's only in the initial period and not for students studying in the United States, I think my analysis is that this will, over a period of 6 years, it'll work out to a very marginal component, which will then get passed on to the consumer. But it opens up the opportunity for a lot of American companies, because there's lack of predictability and consistency of policies. It gives you an opportunity to open many more GCCs, and it also lead to a much more level of outsourcing for these companies, because simply there is no talent available, and you need talent to be able to do this. So India should be a beneficiary of this. My view is that India will benefit out of this.
Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause.